So when you were growing up there, if you can remember back to this, I mean, you said you hadn't seen a world map, but how much knowledge did you have of the outside world? So even if it was skewed, so of course you must have heard about the USA if they're teaching you propaganda about Americans. I would assume you knew maybe something about China and South Korea and perhaps another couple countries, but how much did how much do people know about the world, even if what they know is wrong?
So, well, yeah, I didn't know the name Americans, but it was not Americans. So one word for us was American bastards.
Okay.
It was too polite to call Americans, right? It was one word. We knew Japan, but we cannot call Japanese. It had to be Japanese imperialists. So it was always 1984 George Orwell's narrative. There's an enemy trying to attack us. We need to hate our enemies with all our heart, and we need to, protect our nation by sacrificing ourselves. And I got so North Korean calendar begins not when Jesus Christ was born. North Korean calendar begins when Kim Il Sung was born. We have a different time zone, and at school, the North Korean regime teaches children. Like my school teacher told me that I was not Asian. I did not even know the Asian word. She said that I was a Kim Il Sung race.
Okay.
That we were like our dear leader's race. He created us, right? So they literally copied the Bible and said that Kim Il Sung was a god. He loved us so much. He gave us his son Kim Jong Il, whose body dies, but his spirit is with us. He knows what we think. So the North Korean regime brainwashed people not to the point only. So there's two types of dictatorships, and Nazi Germany also experimented with this. First dictatorship is a physical dictatorship. They literally make sure that you cannot move around, right? You cannot go protest, you cannot speak, you cannot physically go another city. Second thing is called dictatorship of the mind. They even enslave your mind, thought crime. They brainwash to the point that people are even afraid to think. That is a degree of oppression that North Korean people are facing that we never really seen in the human history. That people were to this degree being isolated and oppressed by their own government.
Yeah. And what do you think it is that drives this? I mean, from the leadership perspective, is this just pure human, I don't even know what to call it, just greed and desire for authority and control and power, or is there something sort of deeper in the ideology? And I ask that because there have been many communist countries in the past, and they've, for the most part, all fallen or massively had to change. Yes, sure, China still has communistic elements, but it's very different from how it was many decades ago. We've had the fall of the Soviet Union. The whole communism experiment has failed. It's failed multiple times around the world, but there's still this one country where they are clinging on to it and then mixing it with these other forms of dictatorship. And it sounds like even the sort of bastardization of religion and using that to essentially have some type of, you're really a monarchy, an absolute monarchy, which is then mixed in with these communistic elements. So I'm just curious as to, I know none of us can mind read, but what do you think it is that even causes that to be? I just find it so it blows my mind that it's possible, because it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like something that historical, but just to know that this is happening now, and my entire life this has been going on in this place, and there's just this one country out there that is still doing this. I just don't understand what drives it.
Yeah, I think I had a question for a long time. After coming out of North Korea and seeing this free world, it just made no sense. Like, I was literally sold for less than $300 in the 21st century as sex slave. They sold my mom for $65 when we escaped into China. And the reason why we are being sold for that little is because of the Chinese regime catches, send us back to North Korea. It's like catching the Jews and sending them to gas chamber, right? North Koreans cannot go back to North Korea. And like, how does this make any sense? Why the regime are this evil? Like the only thing North Korean people want is like, if I had some enough food, I would never have escaped. Nobody would be a sex slave and escape their home country like that, right? But even that, the regime doesn't do it. I think it was a gradual though. It was never like North Korea began this monstrous thing. I think they began in the idea, the desire for the paradise, desire for, any help paved by good intentions. I think it was genuine. A lot of the movement in the country that they wanted the equality of outcomes. They wanted everybody to do well. And then, in order to do that, they had to trust their government, their system, to distribute it fairly. But then, when we give so much power to such a one person, that power is going to corrupt, right? And then he's gonna get clouded judgment. The people next to him gonna be afraid and not gonna tell him the truth. And then you become this almost egomaniac that you cannot handle any criticism. So you need to kill all your rivals. And then it becomes that you have done so much sin that if you lose power, the other people are gonna come kill you, like Gaddafi. And a lot of dictators get killed in the hands of their own people. So it became a survivor game for the regime. That they have done so much, they came too far. They cannot let it go. It's way it's too big to fail at this point. And it became they try to incorporate whatever it takes to maintain that control, like you said, keep the power. And when you are elite in North Korea, you have no idea. It's not like American elite. When you're a dictator in North Korea, you're a god. He has pleasure squad. It's the only thing that North Korea has. They pick girls around the town in their elementary school, in the kindergarten. They groom them and into masseuse and sexual satisfactory group. And dancers, singers. And Kim Jong-un has like 2,000 harems every night. And when you're top elite, you get gifts of these girls from the dictator. So it's in some religions, they promise 7 virgins after life. Imagine North Korea, they give it in the current life. So why would you not be loyal to this guy? You get so much out of, committing for this system, then really top percent people can live like no other person. No accountability. They can do really any evil they can, and they can get away with it.
And what is life like for the average person there? Not someone who's in part of the political elites or anything like that, just the everyday person, these 25 million people who are all there. I mean, I would imagine, and I think I've heard you say this, that you've said before that, if you're truly oppressed, you don't know that you're oppressed, or if you're truly isolated, then you don't know that you're isolated. Right. So at least on a kind of surface level, are people, for the most part, happy is a weird word. Are they sort of happy because they don't know any better and they think that that's all life has to offer? Or is there a feeling of discontentment, which of course people are not going to publicly speak about and so on, because they're so tyrannized and they have to suppress it. But would you say that the average person there does sense this oppression and some form of resentment, or do you think that they're just kind of happy and placid? Again, I know you can't mind read, but I'm just trying to really get a grasp of what it must be like for someone to grow up and live in such a place.
So it's a lot of people ask me what's it feel like to live in North Korea? And I used to think maybe my English is not good enough. I cannot describe this to people. And in a way, it's indescribable, because imagine right now we're sitting here trying to imagine life on Mars. We can't, because we don't know the norms there. We don't even know what they have, And it's like that. Like for North Koreans, they are isolated and oppressed to the point they don't even have a vocabulary to describe their situation.